Hey everybody, this is Fat Frog, and today in Ark Survival Evolved we're going to be talking about where to find resources in Ragnarok. So we're going to be hitting on where to find metal, crystal, oil, obsidian, and a couple of oddballs that are on this map like sulfur and clay. So let's get right to it. Now I think Ragnarok does a pretty good job of putting a metal node in here and there for for sort of minor use, but this area is the absolute mother lode. So let's take a look at the map and see where we are, and we'll also pull up the GPS. So we're way up here in the north, sort of central, in the, I think they call these the Bone Islands. And let's see, our latitude here is 14.9 and 40.6 longitude, but around here is a lot of stuff. So on these islands here, you can see there is just a ton of metal nodes, and some of it's a little bit tricky to get to as the frame rate drops for some reason. We've got some of this you can sort of craftily hop up there and get at. Then there is also tons of it out this way. And you might need to sit on the back of a Quetzal or something like that in order to get stuff way up high on the cliff that's left by my head up there. But in general, this whole area is just chock full of metal nodes. So it's also very safe here. That's one of the great things about this particular spot is there's really nothing dangerous. Much of this water you can walk across or is very shallow. And I can't remember, I don't think I've ever seen any megalodons down here. I'll probably see one. Oh, yeah, there's one. But you can see it's way over here, and you can pretty much avoid them. So if you wanted to have a Bronto with a platform saddle, you can walk through most of this, just avoid the somewhat deep areas. And so you could have a metal farm up here pretty easy. You can see there's no trees, but there's all kinds of wood lying around. So this, by far, is the best place that I've seen on the map for metal. And so this little episode here, by the way, is going to be part 1 because they haven't released the desert biome yet on this map. So the map is incomplete for a little while. So we'll have a part 2 on where to find resources in Ragnarok as well. So we're going to head to the next spot and then we'll be back. Next up, we've got the mother lode of Cristal, and we're here in the Cursed Plains that it's all burnt out over here. Let's take a quick look at our location. You can see ourselves on the map there, and we're at 32.3 latitude and 56.1 longitude. I'll put a link to a blog post with all these locations listed. So let's take a look around, though, at all this crystal. So it's spread out a little bit. And you can see we've got some over here, and then it kind of runs back to where we just were. There's some up on the hill up there. So if you're building a greenhouse or need crystal for some of the other crafting, you can see that this is probably the best place that's on the map. And then we'll go over here real quick, and you can see we're also right by some obsidian. Though we're close by, we'll just take a look at that latitude and longitude as we're attacked by some mantis. We're at 31.3 latitude, 55.1 longitude. So obsidian you're never going to find in tons of tons of quantities, but it's not too bad here. The Cursed Plains in general are a pretty good place to find resources just because you can see it from far away. There's an obsidian node at the top of the crest of my Pteranodon there. Obviously it's super dangerous, so you're going to want to come well prepared as far as that goes. But if you've got a Quetzal or a Weight Wyvern or something like that, you can really get a lot of resources, especially that crystal that's over there. So we're going to head off to the next place. But yeah, this is probably the best place to find crystal. Okay, here we are around our little active volcano. It's not erupting quite yet, so that's nice. But around here we've got a good supply of obsidian, but we've also got something that's a little more unique here, and that is sulfur. So these little yellow blobs here are sulfur, so we can get that just from harvesting that with the pick. We've also got, like I said, we've got obsidian over here. There's a few metal nodes, I believe, somewhere around here. But there is all kinds of sulfur around here. And if you haven't been here before, let's go take a look at the map in the GPS. And we're at 23.3 latitude and 62.7 longitude. And so next we're going to head over to the Highlands, these cool plains over here where you find lots of sheep. And we'll take a little look at the resources over here. And if you're looking for wyverns, if you're brand new to the map, I might as well just show you over here. We've got this big rift through the earth here where there's the big trench where you're going to find wyverns. And for some reason on my single player there's barely any spawning in here. When I first started playing the map it was lousy with wyverns, and now not so much. So we're right here. We'll take a look at that map again, pull that out. And we're getting over towards the east end here, and we're right at the edge of those plains at 21.2 and 68.3. Okay, so we're at my little sheep ranch in the Highlands, so we got a good source of mutton and stuff out here. We've got a nice little cave back there with some, I don't know, I think there's 3 or 4 metal nodes over here, over there. And then right at the base of the cliff we've got 4 metal nodes. And that's kind of a good example of how well resources are spread around. So if you need some metal, you can usually find it. And there's all kinds of like little hidden gems around. And we'll go take a look over the hill here. Right back here. And so I've actually only done this a couple of times because I don't really need that much crystal. But a lot of these waterfalls and stuff on Ragnarok have little caves in them. Not real big areas where you're going to see lots of bad news animals and stuff like that. But you can see this little cave. It only goes back this far, but it's actually got quite a bit of crystal in it. So we might as well pull out the map and the GPS and take a look at where we are. So we're at 19.9 and latitude and 78.1 longitude. So if you've got a base up here in the Highlands like I do, this is a really good spot to get crystal and not have to go very far. Speaking of oddball resources, well, crystal isn't really one, but you can get silk on Ragnarok too. You can't get it on the center map or the island map. And if we zoom around, we should find it pretty soon. And I don't believe you can harvest it with animals. I've tried to harvest it with the Equus, but I haven't been very successful. So Ragnarok's been pretty stable, but there are certain places where my frame rate just dies for some reason. And where are the plants? So there are these pink flowers. There we go. These pink flowers, I guess they just weren't rendering in very well. Put away the map and the GPS and that. There we go. So we just harvest this. We're getting fiber and should be able to get some silk out of there. There we got 2 silk. So that's going to allow you to build a whip and some other things on Ragnarok that you can't build on the other official maps, at least not yet. Maybe they'll add it in at some point, I don't know. Now we're heading over to the Redwoods and we're going to see a couple of cool places over there. One's going to be really cool for building a base, so if you want to build in the Redwoods, this is going to be a good spot. And but unfortunately it is about as far over on the map as you can get to the east. Alright, here we are in the Redwoods, and I think this is probably the place I would have built the base if I had wanted to. It's amazing, it's very pretty, and it's actually got a pretty good set or series of metal nodes. So on these, there's about 3 of these big kind of rock outcroppings that just sort of stick up that are full of metal, and then kind of running in a line along this ridge you can find metal like this over here, and then it's right next to this real cool little mountain lake with a waterfall. So you're not far from the resources if you wanted to build over here. And I don't need a huge base, so I could certainly get away with kind of tucking it in over there. But you can see there's a nice cliff overlooking most of this stuff. And yeah, so we better take a look at the map and the GPS to see where we are. So we're kind of right here on the border towards the south. That's where the desert biome is going to be pretty soon. And we are at 41.1 latitude and 68.7 longitude. So it's a really cool spot. And like I said, as we look, let's see, where's north? Towards the north-ish. This way we can find quite a lot of metal if you're into metal, that is. And we're gonna help. No, I'm dying. Oh my goodness, maybe it wasn't a good base place after all. Alright, got my body back and my pteranodons, and one thing I probably should have mentioned are in the Highlands here are these cool little gardens that there are, and I think, geez, there must be 4 of them or something like that. And you pick these guys up and you can get some saber root, and you can get some rock carrot over there. So early game, these gardens are pretty awesome. So if you haven't played in Ragnarok before, this is a great place to get at least a couple of those advanced vegetables early game. So you can get especially the rock carrot, because then you can tame the equises on day 1 actually at level 1, which is pretty cool because you don't need a saddle to ride one of those. So next off, we're going to be going after some oil. We'll show you the best places to get oil that I know of. And I hope you're finding this helpful. And if you are, please like and subscribe. Share it with your friends and leave a comment if you'd like. So let's go get some oil. Okay, so this is an unlikely place to get some oil, but they're great. Okay, I finally stopped glitching into this thing. So these guys are a pretty cool little kind of aesthetic feature, but pull out your pick or your axe and you're going to be getting all kinds of good stuff. You're going to be getting hide, keratin, and oil from these. I believe there are 3 of them. Let's just take a look. Here's 1, 2, 3. Yep, there are 3. Unless there's a 4th one. No big deal. But anyway, you're going to get oil out of these suckers, and then you're going to get some other cool stuff. And if you notice, I was getting an absolute ton of spoiled meat. So I've got hundreds of spoiled meat. So that's going to be great early game, or really any time of the game, to get spoiled meat so you can start making narcotic. One thing I forgot to mention is out of those plants that I was harvesting, those pink ones where I got the silk, you also get plant species Y seed. And you can get rare mushrooms, I believe rare flowers out of those occasionally as well. So they're very good. So let's take a quick look then where we actually are. So we're on the northern shore here, right next to the Highlands and right next to the Cursed Plains. So we're kind of right in the middle there. We're at 15.3 latitude and 69.1 longitude. So we're going to continue on here. There's my other guys. Let's get them to follow me. And so the next place we're going to go is a pretty cool ice cave. Where there really isn't anything dangerous in it, and but there's a lot of oil. Alright, we're coming up on the ice cave, and I don't remember it being this lousy with bears before, so if you're looking to tame a bear, this is also a good place for it. But you'll find a few crystal in here, but you'll find a lot of oil nodes, and that's the this is the place that I've seen the most amount of oil on the map. Now my health is just absolutely plummeting. It's super cold up here. So you're going to want to definitely bring some fur armor. You can also get, what is these, Karuku, the penguins here? You can get some organic polymer off of those guys. But you don't want to spend a whole lot of time up here without having some really good fur armor. And so you can come up here, get a quick raid on, here's another entrance to the cave. Oop, I guess I hit some water. Get some oil. There's a little bit outside the cave. Okay, we're definitely a third of the way with our health gone. Come on back, buddy. There we go. So let's take a quick look at our location before we freeze to death here. So let's bring up our map and our GPS. And so we are at 30.4 latitude and 33.1 longitude, and we have lost half of our health now, so we have to get down in elevation, and hopefully we lose our ice cube status really quick. And we're still ice cubed. Still ice cubed. Come on. We don't want to die. We've got to get down here. How come we're still ice cubed? That's ridiculous. Usually it's not quite this bad. So you might want to bring a torch or something along with you. That would also help you. Usually I'm not ice cubed at this location. There we go. Now we're just frostbit. Let's eat a few pieces of meat, gain some health, and fill our tummies. So around here on the eastern part of the map, oops, sorry for that, or excuse me, the western part of the map, there really isn't anything in the name of resources that really stands out. Towards the center, we'll zip over there real quick and I'll show you kind of a nice place to build a base. There's a fair amount of metal nodes over there, and we'll look at another location, but as far as resources go, other than that ice cave where we were just finding all those all that oil, there's not a lot to write home about. Again, there's those little metal nodes here and there which are quite nice, but like I said, nothing that I'm aware of that is too outstanding. But if I'm missing something, please don't hesitate to put it down in a comment, and let's move to the next spot. There's some metal right there. So over in the western part of the world, I think this shoreline over here, we're over by the swampy islands, is probably one of the best places to farm metal, just because it's easy to find. There's not a ton of it, but it is, like I said, it's easy to find because it's way out in the open. It's easy to walk around here with some sort of weight animal, or if you've got an Anki or something like that you're harvesting these metal nodes. You can do that. So I'll just bring up the map. We're not too far from where we just were, and our latitude here is 46.8 and the longitude is 27.4. Alright, so now we're in the Central Canyon, and this is also a pretty decent area to find metal, and also there's some obsidian here and there. And so we are at 40.2 latitude and 42.6 longitude. So let's just take a look over here. So there's quite a lot of metal, but it's spread out. So we've got about 3 nodes over there. We've got let's see, 6 or so nodes over here, and there's some down there. So as long as you're willing to kind of scoot around, you're probably gonna want a flyer. You're going to be able to find quite a lot of metal here. It's just going to be a lot, you know, further spread out than along the shores where we first started out this adventure. So there's one more thing to show, and I gotta remember which waterfall it is. I believe it's this one over this way. By the way, this is also one of the places I know that you can find silica pearls is down in here. Haven't really spent too much time exploring the oceans of this map, but poking around down here a little bit, I did find some silica pearls. You can also find those in beaver dams. Okay, so we're still in the Central Canyon area. It just took me a minute to get my bearings, and this is one of the areas where there's a pretty cool resource over here, and it's down in the water. And if you pick this up, you get stone and you get clay, so it's kind of cool. You can start building stuff out of adobe even before they come out with the desert map. If I'm not mistaken, the recipe for clay is sand and also cactus sap. Of course, you can't get cactus sap quite yet because the desert biome isn't out. But let's take a look at where we are. Let me get back up on shore real quick. So here's our map and our GPS, and we're at 35.8 and 50.5. So that's gonna about do it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, if you have, please thumbs up and subscribe. Kind of a longer video, but there's a lot to explore on this very big map. There will be a part 2 once they release the rest of it. Thanks for watching, everybody.